anything to do with Greys and reptilians, because they are the ones who are doing these things where people are truly frightened all the way through themselves, and things happen to them, and they have no choice in the matter, and I think that's just not right.
Well, I tell you, I wouldn't want to be abducted by one. And, because, I have my sources doing the show. And back several months ago, somebody who worked for a government agency sent me all these pictures of over at the rainforest, over in Brazil and a few other places, abductions of people where, they were the same things done with those people that have been reportedly done with the cattle, the mutilations and stuff like that. And he sent these pictures over to me, and I looked at him, and I'll tell you, I could not even sleep that night. And in fact, when I did fall asleep, I had nightmares about it. That's how scary, and it actually just turned my stomach.
I know it's a very dark side to all of this.
Yeah, that's why I'm just saying to the people out there, I mean, I don't know where they can come up with and say that these aliens are here to save mankind, to help us. Maybe there is species here that don't want to see us, blow ourselves up. But
okay, let me give you an example. And
please do.
And you may already be familiar with this, and if you are, just stop me. There is a man named Michael Carter. He's been on the Ancient Aliens occasionally, so a lot of people would know who he is. And he originally was having rather icky experiences where reptilians were walking into his bedroom at night, and he was like a little boy. He would just hide himself underneath the cover and hope they'd go away. And Evelyn Gordon and I, and she is the co-founder of the website, we met with him in Asheville and talked to him about, ways to protect yourself and things of that nature. And the next experience that he had was not a reptilian. He has, as far as I know, he's never had those experiences again. But he did have a very, very positive experience happen. And an ET that would look more like let's say a Pleiadian, which is very human-like, except perhaps more refined than humans are. And at that time, he had a very serious health condition, so much so that he could have died at any moment because he had this huge blood clot in his leg, and it was very, very swollen. And he was in bad shape. So this being appeared at the foot of his bed. He never felt fear from this being. He never was afraid at all. And the being didn't say anything, just looked pleasant at the end of his bed. And the next morning he woke up healed. So that's a good story.
That's a good one. Now, I'm just wondering too, like, when somebody if just like that somebody's been implanted, for example, are these people maybe being implanted, and whatever device it is, I mean, other aliens will know that this person has been abducted or implanted, and, just like an experiment, like
I just think of it in terms of like a tracking device that you put on an animal.
That's what I was going to say.
And one man that I knew quite a few years ago, he had an implant, and he finally found a dentist that he trusted, and the implant was in his teeth or close to his teeth, and he had it taken out, and he felt so much relief when that was finally done. There's hardly anybody that people can turn to if they think they have an implant to have it removed. The one that was known nationally was Dr. Lear. It's L-E-I-R, I think.
Yeah, Roger Lear.
L-I-E-R. I don't know if I have my vowels right. And he's passed away, but he was the one who was doing that for, many people.
Yeah, Timothy Collin was number 13 implant removal from Dr. Roger Lear, and he's been on my show several times. And, it just makes me wonder, how many people are implanted. But you know what? If you go up to your doctor and they find something in an x-ray, they look at you with a puzzle. Well, how did that get there? Well, hey, there's no signs of any puncture wounds getting there, but they don't want to do anything about it. They just kind of like, hey, okay, well, you got that in you. We don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm. No, very few doctors would have any inkling of what some of these people are going through.
Yeah, and I don't know, in a case like with Timothy, I asked him, did it make you feel better? Did you have less health issues? And he said no, that part, it didn't affect him.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, again, if it's monitoring what we do from day to day, our thoughts. So I don't know what these implants are. But
Well, I think there's probably genetic experiments going on. One of the reasons that I think that needs to be seriously considered is that many times the abductions happen to generations in the same family.
Okay, so
So if your mother and grandparents didn't have any strange experiences, it's not so likely that you will.
Okay, so they're just kind of monitoring us like how we monitor, cattle and stuff like that.
Or
I guess.
they may be doing genetic manipulation subtly, and they'll follow the changes that they make. It could be that also.
That's scary.
Well, some of the changes, for all we know, might be for the better.
Or the worse. I mean, we don't know.
Well, I don't know, but like Charles Hall, who was, when he was in the military out in Nevada, he had a kind of a lonely weatherman's job in a remote location, and he began to interact with some aliens that he called the tall whites. They weren't like the ones we've been talking about. They're very distinct. And what's interesting is that they looked enough like humans that if they covered up and dressed up right, they would be able to go into Vegas, and that's where they would test to see if they could blend in. And of course, Vegas is such a crazy party town anyhow that an oddball is not going to be noticed as readily as if you were in downtown Indianapolis.
Oh, wow. How tall are they been reported to be compared to, like, me and you?
I don't have that statistic in my mind anymore. I think they looked more tall because they're basically very thin.
Interesting. So that's...
But he did I wish he would do a book that would condense what he's done in 4 very lengthy volumes. He kept very thorough records of all of his interactions and experience. It's more than most people would choose to read. I mean, 4 volumes is a lot, but I'm the editor, and I would be trying to boil it down and condense it so more people would read it. But his name is Charles Hall, and I don't remember the title of his series anymore, but you could find it by using his name.
Yeah. Do you have any idea how many different species of aliens that have been reported? I know about the Greys and the Reptarian.
Well, the last I heard was something in the 30-something. I've heard so many different numbers that I really don't know. But that's a number that I heard recently from somebody who perhaps may know. But that doesn't mean I'd confirm that in any way.
Which ones are the ones, somebody just asked, which ones do we have to worry about? Which ones could be the cannibal type?
Like I said, I want nothing. Well, the cannibal types might be the reptilians. When I was doing research with a situation with the little people, because I started out and I did a book called Cherokee Little People Were Real, and then I was in a place in Tennessee where there are still little people living there, and they are dreadfully afraid of aliens that they call the dominators. And they say the dominators refer to the earth as like the farm, and we are a food source. And some aspects of our government or our military that aren't on the good side have cut deals with these dominators. So the dominators will give them X amount of technology in exchange for X number of humans for their table, I guess. And I mean, these stories just get into like absolutely horrible science fiction, but apparently there are enough people finding out about these things that we can't just blow it away as science fiction anymore. But it also doesn't do us any good to dwell on it all the time and scare ourselves to death.
No, I understand that, but it makes me wonder too. I mean, I'm not going to talk about the people missing in the forest or like that. It's just so many people everywhere just go missing and that there's no trace. I know we got serial killers out there, but I don't think there's that many of them for the amount of people that are
No, the number of people that are disappearing is apparently quite high.
Yeah, that's the part that scares me. I mean,
And another thing that is a possibility is down in Antarctica, the reptilians, I guess ages ago, used the volcanic tunnels and so forth underneath Antarctica and expanded on those and created an underground facility, and were creating and building UFOs before Hitler. And then Hitler was, and we're getting more and more evidence that he was down there. And the U-2 boats for the Germans would go into these rivers that are underneath the ice. To paint this better, we see ice if we just look down on Antarctica. Beneath that, there are rivers and there are these volcanic tunnels, and so there's the boats could actually go into and underneath Antarctica. So
yeah, that I believe. And on the news today, I don't know if you caught it, but there was a thing. Actually, it showed up at two different places. One was from BBC, saying that the satellite caught something really strange in Antarctica. A magnetic field is shooting out all the way out into space coming from Antarctica. And that they find rather strange. And then they also said maybe that was created by a huge hit on Earth in that one area, and that the crater would have to be the biggest crater ever hit on our planet. But they said there is something hid under the ice that's huge.
Well, like I said, there is a very large facility that is still being run by the reptilians, and the Germans, or the leftover Nazis, have been given part of this volcanic structure underneath there also. But there is another man, and if somebody wants to do research, the name is William Tompkins, and during World War II, he was with Navy intelligence, a brilliant man, and he went on to work at the highest levels at NASA, including, Wernher von Braun, and he confirmed much of this before in his last book and some of his interviews before he died. He just died about a year or so ago. But he confirmed much of this stuff. And he also said that at that time, and this is a long time ago now, that the Nazis were actually doing spaceships that would go to the moon. So if there is something being beamed or seeming to be, I think they could very easily have a facility that could beam something out. Could be, a beam of communication.
It could be, like
But I'm more inclined to think it's something that's originating beneath the ice and going out rather than the other way around.
Yeah, because they said it is buried deep in the ice, and they said whatever it is, it's solid. So that makes me just wonder, because it's always Antarctica on all this stuff. But Well, let me give you something else that I've got that's new on Antarctica. If anybody goes to skyshipsovercashers.com, on the homepage there is a search bar. If you just type in the word Antarctica, you'll probably get a number of these stories about the continent that we've posted. But the most recent entrance that we found has been posted this year, and it's under Global Links, and we've got it titled Antarctica, Newly Found Entrance to the Interior. So it's under Global Links. You get to there from our homepage. And
let me give you some dimensions on this.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious how big it is.
I'll compare it to an airplane so you can, see the difference. The entrance is sort of like a fat mushroom, like going into the interior. So